Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Podiatry Legends Podcast. With me today is a return guest. He's been on multiple times. It is Dr. Patrick McEneaney from Chicago, and he is the Northern Illinois foot and ankle specialist. That is the name of his business. He's been on here. Each time he's come on, we keep talking about the progress of his clinic, which is why I keep getting Patrick back. And he's now up to 16 podiatry clinics in the Northern Illinois area. So, Patrick, welcome back to the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me again. It's always great to sit down and talk with you.
Every time you come on, I'm always inspired by what you've been doing. And the feedback I get from other people that listen to the episodes that you're on are always positive as well. So if you're a dud guest, I wouldn't get you back.
Well, podiatry is a great profession, and it's interesting because what you put into it is what you get back.
Oh, definitely.
And so I've been working and building and putting a lot into my practice and building up my team. And you may not show it every day. There's some days you have rough days, rough weeks. Things seem bad. You get a bunch of denials, and the next week you have a great week and you get those denials approved and you get paid by the insurance and you see more patients in the last week. So it's the law of averages with this. You have to look at everything that's happening. And sometimes with patients, when they have surgery, you're like, the other patients are like, I'm not doing better than yesterday. Or like, hey, 2 days ago, I was doing better. And I tell them, like, you got to work week to week or month to month. And it's like that with your practice. You have to not always dwell what's going on day to day. When you look at the end of the month, are we having a better month than last time? Are we having a better month than last year? Are we seeing good trends going forward?
So when you look at your 16 clinics, and what's the distance between them all?
So if you look at our farthest north to south, it's about 2.5 hours.
Oh, wow. Okay.
East to west is 2.5 to 3 hours.
But and when we're talking population, what population would that be covering?
Oh, geez.
This is just to give people overseas a perspective of, like, America's a big place.
It really is. It's got to be probably 1 million people at least.
Okay. So it's a decent area.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at your 16 clinics, do you ever some days sit back? And the reason I'm asking this is because I know you've got successful clinics. You're a very positive person, but I know there'll be podiatrists listening to this who have got multiple clinics or are thinking about having multiple clinics. Do you ever sit back some days and wish you just had one again? Or do you go, no, I would never go back to one, I'll be bored?
Well, it's an interesting story. So I bought the clinic I'm at, the original clinic 11 years ago, and that was in July. And the doctor who was there only had one clinic. And he was there 20 years and only had one clinic. And I'm like, why do you not have another one? And when he had one clinic, everything's easy to control. You don't have to worry about everything. You can keep an eye on everything. And moving from one clinic to 2 clinics is a huge jump. It's an absolute huge jump because you're not there to keep an eye on everything. You don't see what happens. You have to trust other people that are going to watch things. Whereas when I had one clinic, I could always see I had an eye on what was going on. And you take that from 2 to 3 to 4. There's clinics that I don't see for 6 months. And okay. I got to trust that my doctors are watching the clinic. I got to trust that my other team is watching the clinics. And it's a collective group of people that are reporting back. And there's times you go into a clinic and you're like, wow, the walls are really dinged up. Why has anybody reached out and we touched up paint? And everyone's like, oh, yeah, we probably need that. And I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me?
Yeah.
So part of it is like training your team to say, hey, if this was your house, what would you do? And if you notice the sink's leaking, then you give us a call and we get the sink fixed. In your house, you wouldn't just let that leak forever and waste all that water.
Yeah, but I suppose it's one of those things too, when you're in a place and you're there every single day, seeing it all the time, you don't notice certain things. But when somebody else comes on, give me an example. My old Lexus that I had, little 200H, loved driving. It was fantastic. Anyway, when my daughter turned 18, got a license, I gave her that car. So at the time I gave it to her, it was probably 9 or 10 years old. But at the time I gave it to her, I'm saying, this car still goes really well. I then went and bought a new one, driving that car around for 9 months. All of a sudden, my daughter was at our place and she had parked me in. So I jumped in her car now to just go down the shop. Now, only 9 months ago, I was driving that car thinking, this is still a really nice car to drive. I hopped in the car and I drove it and went, my God, this thing rattles, it makes noises, the steering isn't as good, the suspension isn't as good. And I went, you can really tell if this is an old car compared to the brand new one. I think that's what happens when you're in your own clinic day in, day out, that you don't see things. Sometimes you need those fresh eyes to come in.
I think that's the case. And nobody keeps an eye on things like the owner does.
Oh, no.
I'll walk down the hall and I'll see that there's something on the floor and I'll pick it up and throw it in the garbage. Whereas 7 other people have walked by it because, again, there's some ownership with good employees where they're worrying about things, but they still don't worry about it the same way I do. Every week or so, I'll go into a couple treatment rooms and I'll just sit in the chair and I look around and I'll look at the ceiling, I'll look at the walls, and I'll look at what the patient sees. And I'll be like, oh, we probably need to touch up the paint right there, or the picture frame, it looks a little dirty, that needs to be cleaned, or this needs to be updated. And so I think that's a good thing to do to help develop what your patients are seeing. Because if you're not sitting in their perspective, you only see what you see from your perspective.
Yeah, I used to get the receptionists to do that. I'd have them sit out in the reception area and go sit in every single seat, sit there for a couple of minutes and just look around. What can the patient see that you can't see? The paper that's under the desk, the cobwebs in a certain area, are things untidy? And I have the podiatrist do the same thing, is go and sit in the patient's chair and just look at it from their perspective, because you're always looking at the patient and what's in front of you. But when the patient's looking behind you, what's your shelf look like? And I used to say the patient at 5:30 deserves that room to look as good as what it did at 8:30 when the first patient came in. They don't deserve anything less.
Absolutely.
So when you had multiple clinics and you said some of you hadn't been there for 6 months, you were relying on feedback. Were you also using certain particular numbers of the business that you would look at, like numbers, orthotic turnover? For you, might be surgical appointments. Were you looking at those sort of figures?
Oh, I was talking about the physical clinic, but no, we're monitoring numbers all the time. And it's amazing what numbers will teach you. So we were sitting there and we were having a lot of new patients, and but I wasn't seeing in certain clinics, I wasn't seeing our numbers increase of our overall visits. If you have more new patients coming in, you should have more follow-up visits, right? Mm. And so we ran a report, and I did a one and done report. And these were patients who came in and didn't come in for a second visit. So we could assume that we're such good doctors that we solved everything in one visit. Yeah. But that's not always the case.
That was my favorite report I used to like looking at, from new patient to what happened next.
And so we would run a one and done report. And I got some information that, but I'm like, you know what? Let's run a one and done or two and done report. And so what I did is I filed this down to people who didn't come back for a third visit. Yeah. And these were people who were reappointed for a third visit. I did a separate report on the ones that were made as needed after their first or second visit. And I found out that some docs there was one doc who was shuffling through patients, and if they weren't surgical, kicking them out. Oh, you have a bunion, okay, you don't want surgery, come back when you do. Not treating them with orthotics, not giving shots, not doing anything else, because you just wanted to operate. And when I did this one and done, two and done report, I found that there were some docs as low as 10%, and there was one doc as high as 47%.
Okay.
And so when you start looking at 47% of your patients, when they're reappointed after their first or second visit, aren't coming back,
that's a lot.
Then that's not necessarily a problem with the community. That's usually a problem with how you're treating patients.
Yeah.
Again, there's some patients that come in just fact finding, and they want to know they have plantar fasciitis, and they're going to go online and Google the rest of it, or go to ChatGPT and get all that information and self-treat. That kind of stuff's going to happen. There's going to be people who, for financial reasons, don't come in for a second visit, but you shouldn't see a 10% to a gap in the high 40s within the same practice in the same region.
Yeah, we used to have what I called a soft conversion and a hard conversion. So a soft conversion was person comes in for their initial consultation, and from that initial consultation, what happened next? And in my opinion, it should have been 95% of people should be having a second visit, for depending on what they came in for. So say, for example, we're looking at MSK biomechanical type patients. 95% of them, if they've come in with symptom, something should be happening next. The hard conversion rate was then from that group who ended up having other treatment, whether it was orthotics, shockwave therapy, exercise. They had multiple visits afterwards. And if their soft conversion rate's really bad, then you knew the hard conversion rate was going to be really bad.
Yeah.
And usually there's no excuse, just laziness.
There's always an excuse, but they're not good ones.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's like I used to say to people, if your conversion rate, that soft conversion rate is 100%, I'd be surprised. It should never probably be 100% because people will come in just for an opinion or just for a second opinion. Or as soon as they come in, they tell you, look, I'm strapped for cash. I just need what's the quickest, fastest thing just to reduce my pain because I'm about to go on a 2-week holiday and I'll get back in touch with you then. So I never expect to be 100%. But I do recall having someone with me and their conversion rate, even their soft conversion rate was like under 50%. And I'm going, that is so bad.
Well, and part of it is, it depends on how the doctor practices and how they think about things. So I'll tell you a story. So I had a patient come in and I had one of my doctors had just started with us. And so when our new doctors start up out of residency, they spend some time shadowing and learn how we work things. And so she went into a patient's room, comes back out. She's like, the guy's got fungal toenails. And I'm like, what are we doing for him? She's like, well, he wants to use a topical medication. And I'm like, did you talk to him about oral medication? She goes, yeah, he likes to drink his beer. He's not interested in doing that. He's a farmer. And so I'm like, did you talk to him about laser? And she goes, go in and look at the guy. He's like 6'5". He's like over 300 pounds. He's in overalls, dirty, calloused fingers. And he's a farmer. He's not going to be able to afford that. And I walk right in and I talk to him and say, hey, are you going to be able to reach your toes easy? He goes, well, not easy. I can probably get it done there, or my wife can help me. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I heard we don't want to do the oral medication. He goes, no. I said, what about laser therapy? He said, tell me about that. And so I spent some time explaining laser therapy for nails. And before I could finish talking about it, he reaches into his pocket, pulls out a wad of hundreds like this thick, and says, how many is it? And just is already counting. And I told him how much it cost. He pulled that money out of his pocket and handed it right to me. And he's like, and I'm like, well, I'll bring it to the front desk for you.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I think there's an inherent nature for us to profile people based on what we think they can afford.
It's true.
And it's the same thing. It's like we wouldn't profile people based on their race, ethnicity, gender, anything like that. So why are we going to profile people on what we think they can afford? There's this thing where some doctors are afraid Medicare doesn't cover orthotics in America, and unless they're attached to a brace. And so I have doctors who will just get the patients the off-the-shelf medical grade inserts because they're cheaper, and they don't even ask the people if they want an orthotic.
Yeah.
And the orthotic's going to do a better job. We know it's going to provide more relief. And I had a lady the other day, I said, hey, I said, our options here are these medical grade inserts, or I can get you in a custom molded orthotic. And she turns to me and she goes, you know what? She's like, my grandkids, I've got 7 of them. They haven't seen me in 6 months. And my son, I haven't talked to him in forever. I'll take 3 pairs of orthotics.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I do think we should be providing the same opportunities and same care to everybody. And the patients that can't afford the care, they'll tell me, like, I can't afford that. Give me a cheaper option.
Yeah, I had a podiatrist work for me a certain period of time, and he went away on holidays for 2 weeks. While he was away, he had 15 patients booked in to pick up their pre-made orthotics. Back then, we didn't keep them on stock. We just ordered them as we need them. I'm going, geez, that's a lot. 15 pairs in the 2 weeks while he's away, because I would hardly do any pre-mades. As the patients came in, I said to them, out of curiosity, why did you choose to get a pre-made orthotic over a custom-made orthotic? And they went, oh, what's a custom-made orthotic?
Oh, jeez.
I went, you shit me. Okay. So 14 out of the 15 decided to get custom-made orthotics when I explained it to him. And when he came back from holidays, I pulled him aside and said, hey, I saw 15 of your patients you had booked in for these pre-mades. 14 or 15 got custom-made orthotics. Why did you not explain custom-made orthotics? And you know what he said to me? I don't believe in orthotics. And I went, anyway, so when he finished up with me that day, it was, it was.
He said, it's very nice to meet you. There's the door.
Yeah. And this was really early on when I probably only had my own practice for a couple of years up here in Cairns, maybe the first or second person I ever employed. It made me realize that we're not all equal. We don't have the same beliefs. We don't have the same thinking. We treat things differently, which is why you need to keep track of your numbers and your stats. So when you employ somebody, it really quickly gives you an idea how they think. And if it doesn't fit your business, you need to remove them as fast as possible.
Yeah. And I think the hiring process is really important.
Yeah.
So like I've known people, they do a quick interview over a webcam interview. They'll talk to someone for 10 minutes and hire them. And like, to me, I talk to people multiple times. I've got to the position where like sometimes I'll take people out to dinner because I need to see them out of this type of setting where they're being all professional and trying their hardest for 20 minutes to impress you. And you need to sit with people and relax with them and talk to them and see more about how they do things. And I think anybody who's hired enough employees have hired people and been like, "Oh, I made a mistake." If they don't fit you, they don't fit your culture. You need to terminate them, not only for your well-being and your practice, but also for them. Because if they don't fit with your culture, they're not going to do well with us.
Oh, definitely.
And I had an interview with one gentleman, and we were talking, and I'm like, "What would a good day look like? With a good week look like?" He's like, "I'd like to have a full day on Monday and full day on Tuesday." I'm like, okay. Wednesday would like to be my surgery day, maybe like a half day on Thursday, and then I need Fridays for an admin day to do all my charts. And I'm like, so where's the lake house? Where's your lake house at that you want to leave? You want to leave halfway through the week and come back on Monday. And he's, "Oh, well, it's in Michigan." And I'm like, that's not the kind of practice this is. You'd be on call, you'd be doing, he's like, "I can work on that." And I go, "No, you need to go to a hospital or somewhere that has that schedule if that's what you want." I said, "But you don't want to cram that into here because you're never going to be happy being here."
That is a good point. That is a really good point.
And so you have to read between the lines. I had another time I interviewed somebody and we were talking, and halfway through the interview, I'm like, "All right, can we stop for a second?" I said, "I feel I'm getting all the answers that you think I want and not your real answers." I said, "So I'm going to give you a chance to start over here. And let's just let me ask these questions again. And I want your real answers." And I found out that the real answers were completely different than what the person first said. And it's interesting. You got to keep interviews real. You got to keep them. I try to keep them somewhat laid back. And I try to like really figure out who this person is and how they want to practice.
Yeah. I think I definitely agree that when you're employing someone, usually most of the red flags are given to you during that interview. Yeah. And when the guy said, I'll see if I can make that work. It's not, you're not bloody making it work. It works. This is how we do it. If you don't think you can do this, and to me, as soon as somebody puts up any sort of barrier, if I was saying this is how we do things, and they go, "Oh, well, I like to do it this way," to me, that was always the wrong answer. Because they would say, "No, this is how we do it. This is how we all do it. This is how you'll be doing it." "Oh, but I'd like to do it this way." Wrong answer again.
Yeah.
I reckon if you employ that person and they've already told you that they'd like to do something different, you can't complain when they do something different.
No, you can't. And the initial interviews, the first few days of work, those are usually the best people are going to act.
Yeah.
And then they're going to fall into habits and fall into what their preferences are. And so if you're getting resistance in an interview in the first few days, it's not a good sign.
I've had a lot of coaching clients, and they've employed a lot of people. I've had some that we've gone through the process on who they're going to employ and what we've been looking at. And there's a few tricks that you can do. And it's worked out really well. Then I have other ones who have they've gone opposite of what I told them to do. I just needed someone to put a hat on that had podiatry on the front of it. And I went, you'd be better to just be working by yourself, or just you and the other person. You don't need that podiatrist because it's going to cause problems. And it always did.
The amount of time you have to spend fixing all those problems,
you'd
be better off working more hours during the week, and it'd be more profitable for it and have less headaches.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's your reputation that gets affected as well.
Absolutely.
What I get people, when they go to employ somebody, I give them cut up all these pieces of paper and write all these different types of podiatry problems on there. Could be heel pain, might be treating a neuroma, callus on the heels, debriding a corn, just fungal nails, all this stuff all written down. I say, write down 20 pieces of paper, give it to them, and tell them to put it in order of the type of patients that they really enjoy treating.
Yeah.
I said, when they put that all in order, because you might have, as one of the pieces of paper, general treatment, but then you might have debriding a corn. And some people go, well, isn't that the same thing? Well, not really. Because if I had to write, I didn't mind really getting in and digging out a corn. It's fine, a bit of fun, actually. But to just be doing general routine foot care all day would drive me nuts. So I might put debriding a corn higher towards the top, because a lot of times if you had a biomechanical patient come in, sometimes they had a corn that needed treating. So it didn't bother me to treat it. Heel fissures, hated. Wounds, hated. Ulcers, hated. That would be right down the bottom. So when you get them to rate what they like and don't like in order, and they have to put it in order, they can't put anything the same. If it doesn't match with your clinic, if I was employing someone and they said, I really love high-risk diabetic feet ulcers, I'm going, that's not my clinic. We're MSK, biomechanics, orthotic sports. That's predominantly what we do.
Yeah. No, again, it's finding the right doctor, the right culture. I like to find people who are social.
Yeah.
I always think if I was sitting at an airport bar having a beer, would I want to talk to you?
True.
And would everybody else at the bar want to talk to you? And would somebody buying you a drink saying, very nice to meet you? If you have those people who are social and can really communicate well, they do very well with patients and they become very believable. I've seen doctors who are very smart and are that social, and they don't tend to do as well.
I agree.
I think that's one of the most important things to find. And then finding people who are malleable. You have people who they come in and I say, hey, we've got certain protocols. We like to run by these protocols. They're not set in stone, but you have people like, no, I do things my way. Talk about red flags. That's a huge red flag. And so finding people who are willing to follow the lead of this is how our clinic runs, this is the culture, this is how we do things. I think that's really important when you're hiring people.
I definitely think the social side of things is really important. I think back to some of the people that I had employed over the years, and some of them that didn't last very long, didn't really have much to do with them socially. Some that were with me for many years, we had a lot of laughs and a lot of good times together. And whenever you were doing something as a group, they were always involved. They were usually the instigator of fun. And they were just a joy to be around. But there were other people who work with us, not just podiatrists, but even your support staff, who they'd walk into work and you want to do anything with them outside of work, and they would pretty much just go, no, sorry, I don't socialize with the people I work with. They were very short-lived. And they weren't the best communicators with patients either.
Well, employees want to go home and have their own life. That's fine. But you want to get the people who aren't just punching in. Like, I have fun at work. I have fun talking to patients. I have fun treating them. I have fun getting them better. Our staff and I laugh. The patients laugh. People come in having pain and being frustrated. And if they can leave with a laugh or a chuckle or a smile, that's part of the reason they're there, on top of getting their condition treated.
So is there anything else you do when you're doing the interview process that you run through?
I try to see what people's long-term goals are.
Oh, it's a good one. Yeah.
And I've had people say, I want to be the best surgeon in Chicago. I want to do all this surgery. I want to be the busiest person. I want to be speaking academically. And I have other people that are like, I just want a good work-life balance. I have people be like, I want to make as much money as possible. And you can look at what their goals are. But I've had people be like, yeah, I got this whole degree. I just like to pay off my loans and I like treating people and whatever happens, happens. And it's like, is that person someone that seems motivated and someone that is going to be productive in a practice?
Mm.
And so I really think it's important to see long-term goals with them and where they want to be in their future. I tell them it's okay to have a family. It's okay to do all this other stuff.
Well, like you said, the work-life balance. I actually think I used to find the podiatrists that I worked with who really wanted that work-life balance actually worked harder than the person that says, I just want to be the legend in a particular area. I want to do something else, because they wanted to work hard so they could enjoy their life.
Right. And it's funny because there's a work-life balance, people that are like that.
Yeah.
And then there's work-life balance, which means I want to work as little as possible and make as much money as I can, but I don't want to work hard. And we've seen a whole new generation of people that someone comes in and they're like, oh, I don't do wounds. And it's like, well, you started yesterday. You have 6 patients on your schedule. Yes, you do wounds today.
Yeah, see,
You've
that's
been
the thing.
trained to do it.
If you were employing me, I would have, and that's what I said to somebody. If there's something you don't like in podiatry, be upfront with it at the interview. Because if I said to you, "Oh, sorry, Patrick, but I can't do wounds. I dry reach. It's just not a good look when in front of the patient." If you went,
Right.
"Oh, unfortunately, you're probably going to see half a dozen a week," then I have to make a decision. If I say yes, then I must see wounds. But if I say, "Oh, I can't," and you still employ me, then I don't see wounds.
Well, and I think it's important for anybody to realize that they need to be honest. Because, like for me, I have one doc say, "Listen, I don't do surgery. I only do palliative care." And in some clinics, I have people that all they want to do is surgery.
Yeah,
And so putting a palliative person in their clinic is great. They can see all that. They can send me all the surgeries, and both are really happy.
very
But
much.
but there's situations where like I've hired docs and they're like, I can do everything surgically, don't worry about it. And then all of a sudden they get a calcaneal fracture and they're sending it to ortho because they're like, oh, I don't know how to do that. And I'm like, well, in the interview you said you did.
Yeah,
Oh, I just didn't think I'd be getting those.
yeah,
And so nothing gets more frustrating for an owner than when you lie about what your capabilities are. And again, there's practices that you need to be able to do everything. There's other practices where, again, in my practice, if you don't do something, if you don't do ankle scopes, you send it to the guys who do.
yeah. I think being honest at the interview, especially if you have an interest in a certain area, it might be treating children, then tell them I have a really strong interest in that area, but I'm prepared to do everything. And if you say you're prepared to do everything, it means you are prepared to do everything.
Right. And I tell my docs, I say, you know what, get busy,
Mm,
get get your clinic full, be booked out a few weeks. And when you hit that point, then you can start saying, I don't want to see this anymore. I don't want to see wounds anymore. I don't want to see this anymore. And then you can start siphoning in your practice into more of what you want your waiting room to be like.
yeah.
But when you first start, you can't say I'm only doing surgical patients and then sit with an empty waiting room and wondering why, your production numbers are bad.
Yeah. I know when I graduated, I actually applied for one podiatry job when I graduated and I got it. But I said to her at the beginning, before she said I had the job, I said, I was going to be really honest. I said, I don't do wounds. And she was, what do you mean you don't do wounds? I said, oh, if someone comes with an ulcer, I said, just the smell, it kills me. I said, I get sick. I really get sick. Even just looking at it, I said, it's not good. And I said, is that going to be a problem? She went, oh. She went, I need somebody. She said, okay, you will not have to treat wounds. So I had told her up front that I wasn't going to do it. And she agreed I didn't have to do it. And then we disagreed on pay. So I didn't end up taking the job. But that's a whole different story. I was just a greedy little bugger when I graduated, as some new graduates can be.
Yeah.
And I tell all new graduates now, don't chase the money, chase experience.
Correct.
I ended up setting up my own clinic. When I set up my own clinic, I did see wounds initially because I need the money. I had rent to pay, I had bills. So I said, I will do wounds. So I did the wounds initially and I did. That's how I figured out. Yep. No matter how many I saw, I still dry reached. I still got sick. And I tell the patients, I go, don't mind me. Just, I'm not good. I'm not good. And patients would just laugh. They accepted it. Once I got my clinic to a certain point that I didn't need to do it anymore, I didn't do it. Or when I had another clinic and I had somebody else employed who didn't mind doing it, I sent all my wounds over to them.
Yeah.
But I couldn't go in the room though for about 50 minutes after they treated the wound because I could still smell it.
Well, I got a little secret for that.
Yeah.
So when I build new clinics or renovate clinics, I put bathroom fans in the room.
Oh, so it sucks it out.
So there's two light switches. One's for the light and the other's for the fan. And I get the quiet ones and you can flip them on while the patients are in the room and it keeps the smell venting outside.
Oh, okay. So yeah, like when you walk past a pastry shop and it smells really good. You walk past a wound clinic and you go, oh my God. Well, at least some patients know they're in the right place.
Right.
Ah, that's terrible. So, but anyway, where to from here? What are your plans? Like I said, each time I have you on here, I normally want to know what has Patrick got planned in the future.
Well, right now, my biggest goal is to continue to market and grow our practice. We've got 18 doctors now, and the goal is to get all of them busy to the fullest extent that they want to handle. And our last clinic we picked up was in December of last year. And from here, I've looked at other clinics. I just haven't seen anything that really fits in with what we're looking for. And so you just got to continue to pound the pavement and market. The marketing is so important. Building relationships with doctors, with communities, with patients. And it's real easy to throw money at Google AdWords and to spend a lot of money digitally, but that'll only get you so far. At a certain point, you put money out to Google, and if people aren't clicking, you're not even spending all the money you put out.
Yeah, it's true.
But nothing beats a relationship.
Yeah, I love marketing. That's why I do my marketing masterclasses. To me, it's one of those things where you can be the best podiatrist in the world. You can be the most social, where patients are going to absolutely love you. But if they don't know you exist, then it's going to be a long, hard road to actually build your clinic up. Doesn't mean you can't, but it is a long, hard road. When you know how to market your business, life is so much easier.
I think one of the hard things for a lot of doctors is we're always taught to be humble. And we're always taught to just be introspective with everything we do. And I think to some degree, we have to promote ourselves to patients without seeming cocky.
Yeah.
And I'll have patients and they'll get done with surgery and they'll say, "Doc, thank you so much for fixing my bunion. This is so great. I never thought it would be as good as it is." And they said, "Thank you." And I'll say, "You know what? The best way to say thank you is to go on Google and leave a review for me." I said, "Tell everybody else so that they can come find me and I can fix them too."
You know what I said, patients? You'll like this. I'd say, "I am the second best podiatrist in Australia." And they go, and patients look at me and they go, "You're the second best?" I go, "Yeah." They go, "Who's the best?" I go, "I don't know. There must be someone better. I just haven't met them yet." And the patients were just... And you couldn't say that with every patient. But, you got the patient where you're getting on with them.
Yeah.
And you can just drop a line that you just need to introduce a little bit of humor. Works every time though. It's like in my podiatry book, I used to say, this is the second best business book ever written. And somebody go, what's the best? And I said, "Oh no, there has to be one better, but I've never been able to find it." And it's just, you can use it in so many aspects, I think.
But the other thing is when you're out in the community, I'll be at a Chamber of Commerce event and we'll be talking to people and, "Well, what do you do?" And instead of saying, "Oh, I'm a podiatrist," I'll be like, "Oh, I'm a podiatrist. I fix bunions. I take care of foot pain. I deal with elderly people who have chronic pain in their feet." And giving people a little bit of information, they don't always understand what you do. And you have to not brag about what you do, but you have to inform people of these are the types of things that I do. Because people are like, "Oh, I didn't know you did that." And then next thing you know, they're in seeing you.
Yeah, we say the same thing when someone would come up to us and they say, "Oh, Tyson, what are you doing?" So I am ProArch Podiatry. And basically we work with people that want to stay active and pain-free. You just have a line worked out and we modify and change it at different times. But instead of even just saying, "Oh, I treat this sort of problem," if they don't know what that problem is, then it doesn't mean anything to them. But everyone knows that everyone wants to stay active. Everyone wants to stay healthy. They want to stay pain-free. And that's what we basically did at ProArch Podiatry. You knew if you answered the right way because you could see them go, "Oh, that's interesting. Tell me more." If people are going, "Oh, right," and then they're turning away and go, "Oh, hang on, there's my friend over there. I'm going to walk off." Then you didn't sell yourself.
Yeah. You have to use open-ended questions. You have to use leading questions, and you have to draw people in that are interested.
So one thing I'm going to just point out to everyone too, which this is what we'll finish up on, and I think this is important. When you were on here last time, December last year, you had 16 clinics. When I first met you, you had 2. And then over the 6 episodes, you went to 16. And you were soon to buy your 17th one, which you did buy. When you came on here today, the first thing I said to you before I pressed record was, "Hey, how many clinics are you up to?" Expecting you to say, "Oh, no, 57. You said, "Oh, we're back down to 16. And I thought that was really important, that you've got to a certain point, but then you knew where you had 2 clinics. Sometimes it's better just to consolidate than having the 2 clinics.
Yeah, and I've done that a few different times. One time I literally bought two clinics that were across the street from each other. It
Yeah.
was like a minute and a half walk between the two clinics. That's how close they were. And so I bought one, I bought the other, and we merged them together. And I've done that a few different times where we've bought clinics in the same neighborhood and consolidated them. This was one where I bought a clinic that was struggling. We built it up to a certain point, but the landlords were bad. The building itself was becoming more and more vacant from our referral sources. The people who were there were just getting older and like didn't really want to play the referral game. And so there's a certain benefit to being in a medical building that you build referrals and build within what's going on there. And otherwise, you'd just be in a storefront and everybody driving by would see it. And so what happened with that clinic is we were growing, but just not at the pace we needed to. And the fact that we had a bad landlord that was looking to raise rent, who wasn't changing light bulbs and doing other stuff that they should be, that we looked at it and we said, we have another clinic like 3 miles away. Why are we going to keep this clinic here? Why don't we just move it down the street and put it in a place where we're already paying rent, a place that's already busy? Now it'll look more busy, and now that doctor can pick up more patients over in that area. And we moved it, and over 90% of the patients followed us.
Mm.
And so for us, it was a huge win. It seems like when you're looking at all of this, oh no, I'm closing a clinic, like this is a big loss. And with your ego a little bit, it's like, well, now I have one less clinic.
I think it's an ego thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But when you get past it and you look at the numbers, all of it, we took off a whole bunch of overhead. We didn't have to have as much staff because we already had staff at that other clinic. And on top of that, we were able to grow the business at another clinic and make that one even more profitable. And so I think you have to play the numbers game and say, what is this clinic doing for me? Is it profitable? How profitable is it? And we took a risk that maybe these patients won't follow us, but they like the doctor, and a lot of them were able to follow us to where we went. So overall, it was a win. There's other times that people may do that and it may not turn out well, because you have to know what the neighborhoods are like. You have to know where the patients are. I have patients in this neighborhood here who will go here, but they won't go to the neighborhood next door. And there's socioeconomic issues. There's just other types of just issues with towns and rivalries and distances. And so you have to know your neighborhoods really well when you're going to shift from one clinic to the other.
Yeah, we did a similar thing where I had Cairns and we had another clinic, Smithfield, which was a 30-minute drive away. And I originally had set that clinic up because it did cater to a different area, to like northern beaches and an area called the Tablelands. And from opening up, it took off really fast, went really great. And I went, oh, geez, I'm a genius. Knew I was just doing the right thing here. After I had it there 5 years. Yeah, I just made the same call. I looked at it and just went, because it was in a shopping center, so the rents were really high. And then we just made the decision, if we close that, we made money from it. We've done pretty well. If we close it, even if 25% of the patients come over, then that's a good thing. And I think it ended up about 45% of the patients came over, because there were other podiatrists in between where that clinic was and us. So we knew you weren't going to get everybody. But by consolidating to our main clinic in Cairns, grew 30 or 40% within about 12 or 18 months by focusing, not splitting staff, not sharing staff between clinics when there were holidays. It did make life a little bit easier.
Yeah, you have to treat it like a business, not a medical practice at times.
Yeah.
And you have to look at those things and say, if I was looking just solely based on the numbers, not on my ego, not on staffing, not on everything else, is this something that's profitable enough that I should be keeping and putting? And there's times I've looked at offices and I'm like, this is a great office. It's got a good base. I know I could build this up. But I'm looking at it and I'm like, but the amount of time I have to spend, if I spent that where I'm at right now, I'll be more profitable building this clinic up, spending all those hours here. And I don't have to spend the extra money of buying that clinic and the extra headaches.
Yeah. So it'd be great though, if you had one clinic, as soon as you open up a second clinic, your income doubled. Wouldn't that be awesome? And then when you open up the third clinic, you're making 3 times as much. And when you have 10 clinics, you're making 10 times as much as what you did when you just have the one clinic, but it doesn't work that way.
Look, there's a lot of stories about this. So there was a guy out by us who had a successful pizza place.
Yeah.
And so he was doing really well and had done well for years. So he decided to open up 2 more. And both of those pizza places failed for different reasons. And it almost sank the original joint.
Because of resources.
because of resources. And he'd spent so much money building these places out. And he just thought, hey, this is just a rinse and repeat type of situation. You'll see a McDonald's out of business, different places. You'll see a Burger King out of business, because it's not just the framework. You have to have the right market, the right people. There's a lot that's involved in this. You can't just open up or buy clinics and assume everything's going to run the same.
We had a Taco Bell here in Cairns opened up. The town was so excited when this Taco Bell was opening because everyone knew it was an American chain. I don't think it lasted a year. It was in a terrible spot that you really had to go out of your way to go there. So here's a franchise that is world renowned and just didn't work. So sometimes opening up a clinic in some areas just won't work.
Yeah. And it's really easy to get really excited about an opportunity of a new clinic.
Yeah.
Trust me, I've done it a bunch of times, and I've had to sit back
and
then you look at the numbers and you go, oh, these aren't where I wanted them to be.
But didn't you find, I used to find opening up a new clinic was the most exciting thing I ever did. Finding a location, getting it fitted out, getting it all set up, putting in all the systems, employing the staff, and that first patient that came through the door was just the most exciting thing.
So exciting. It's so exciting.
Loved it. I miss that so much. That side of things I really miss.
And you get the same rush every single time. Every time it happens. It's first clinic or the 16th.
Well, I think that's what happened when some of my coaching clients, where they've been in one location, they've moved to another location. I'm emotionally involved in this while they're doing it. And when they have like an official opening, you're emotionally part of it. So yeah, that's where I get my hit from, doing it that way now.
Yeah.
So Patrick, anything else you want to share with us before we wrap up? Oh, how's the Chicago Bears going?
They're 2-2 right now.
Better if they were 4-0.
Right. So we'll see. It's not going to be a Super Bowl championship year, but we'll see what happens.
And I want to point out to everybody too, if you're ever in the United States and there's an NFL game going on and you hear this thing called tailgating, just turn up at the stadium with a six-pack's not enough. Just turn up with 12 beers or 12 whatever you want to drink. Just rock up there and just throw it in somebody's cooler, as they call it over there, and just enjoy the experience. That was still one of my best mornings I've ever had. Can't believe how early you start.
Yeah, it's a fun American ritual. Everyone sits around and barbecues and has a couple beers and sits around, and the energy is great and the people are great, and then you get to go and watch your team.
Yeah, that was so much fun. Okay, Patrick, on that note, I want to thank you for coming back on the podcast. It won't be your last visit for sure.
No, I'll be here again, I'm sure.
Okay, I'll talk to you again soon.
All right, thanks, Tyson.